JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 23 as always. And in today's video, we're going to be doing something that I haven't actually done for quite a while, and that is actually trying to set a world record or come as close as I possibly can to a world record. And the track we are choosing to do is obviously Qatar, because we have it this weekend in a real life F1, and yeah, what can I say about this circuit? I actually really enjoy driving it. I think especially for qualifying, it is one of the most intense laps I think you could drive, because the momentum is just so important around here. And yeah, if you don't nail your traction, you don't carry that speed, then it will be punishing you down a lot of these very long straights. So what we're going to try and do here is just try the world record setup, see how we feel. And yeah, currently I've done a 20.4, which I did quite a while ago without too many laps. Thinking online, typically in this game, is actually a bit faster than the time trial. So don't be surprised if your time trial time is slower than what you achieved online, because I did do a 20.3 online, which didn't really feel too good. I think typically you can expect about a 1 to 2/10 improvement compared to what you do in the time trial. Main reason for that is because the tyres aren't always the absolute optimal temperature, because they're fixed on 100 degrees. Also, you have about 5 laps of fuel in the time trial compared to when you are racing online. But yeah, this track here, track limits, are very difficult. You have to absolutely maximize the exits, because if you don't, then you will be losing a ton of momentum down these straights. So first up we did was in the 20s, a 20.9. The world record on PlayStation, I believe, is a 19.8 or 19.9, and I think this is actually one of the most popular tracks that people have done at the time trial. I think there's over 120,000 entries here, which is absolutely insane. And one of the other main reasons why I decided to do this is because there's a bit of a break from league racing now. I don't start league racing again until November, but I think the weakest part of my driving is definitely my one lap pace. And the main reason I think for that is that I'm probably not aggressive enough with the steering in the qualifying. I tend to be a little bit too smooth, which definitely comes from my karting background, where being smoother was always the quickest way. That's just kind of my driving style, which I think does benefit in the race quite a bit, which is why often the case where I'm being out-qualified by half a second, sometimes in the race I end up being faster than those guys who are that much faster than me in the qualifying. But this is definitely an area that I want to work on, because I think if I can really nail my qualifying, then I feel the race pace is already good enough to be keeping up, if not beating, most of the competition. But you can see here, just getting some laps on the board here, and the world record setup that I'm running here, you can see we're losing a bit of time in the straight line. The wings are very high, which you might not expect, because there's so much of this lap that is going flat out. But you just need the downforce around here. If you try and run anything lower than probably 45 wing, then yeah, you're going to be really suffering when it comes to the corners. And you can see we're already making a bit of improvement. So it took us 5 laps and we're already down to a 120.4. But we decided to go back to the garage because I felt like we could maybe try a different setup. Because I think if you want a bit of a baseline, you can see here 129,000 players. We decided to try this guy's setup instead. So I think when it comes to building your own setups, which I've done videos on in the past, I think going to time trial is usually not a bad idea in terms of getting a baseline. It gives you a good idea of the wings, good idea of the setup. If you learn to be smooth with your inputs and efficient with your inputs, then the setup will feel a lot more stable. And actually next week I will be doing my first installment in my tutorial series, where I'll be talking about the traction and basically going through the assists, talking about how you can turn them off, and why I also think probably running no assists is going to really give you your maximum lap time potential. But you can see immediately when I tried this setup, it just felt so much better. It was definitely a lot more loose, but I just felt like I could do so much more with the car. And my piece of advice when it comes to time trial or just trying to get good at any track, I've said this for many years now, try not to restart your laps all the time, because I know there's a lot of people out there who I've watched on live streams who, as soon as they make one mistake, they just restart the lap. And yeah, I think if you're maybe an esports driver who have got those fundamentals down to a T, then I think you can get away with it. But if you're not quite at that top 1% level yet, then I think really working on your muscle memory to not really rely on the game to get you out of jail, learning how to complete laps, and also if you keep on resetting in sector 1, by the time you start perfecting sector 1, you've lost your muscle memory for sector 2, sector 3. So I'm a big advocate on trying to keep doing your laps over and over. And if you do enjoy these style videos, please let me know. Please let me a like and let me know what content you'd like to see in the future. But you can see it's still stuck on a 20.4, but now I think this is where we make a good improvement. So a good first corner here, and you just have to absolutely play with these track limits. If you don't, you're just going to lose so much momentum in a straight line. So this corner here is probably one of the most difficult corners. You have to maximize this, and almost going flat out. Couldn't quite go flat out there. Changing the brake bias for this left-hander hairpin. I think this is the corner where you can easily lock the rears. So we're changing it back down to 50. The brake bias for the rest of the lap. This is a very awkward corner. You can either go in wide or attack it really early. I kind of choose to go in the middle, flat out for his right-hander. Once that green part of the track starts, really want to maximize this track as much as possible. And you can see we're quite a bit up on our times. This is actually quite a good lap. Completely flat out through here, completely flat out for this right-hander, flat out for the next right-hander. But going through this left, one of the most difficult corners on the track. You've got a very nasty bump in the middle of that apex, but we managed to do that pretty well as you hit the 50-meter board, coming in nicely apex up into 5th gear and getting that DRS sign. And you can see we're quite close to being 2 temps up. Going across on, what is this going to be? It's a 120.2. And before this, I would have been very satisfied getting into the 20.0s. That's really what the goal was, because I think the legit world record, I believe, is a 19.6. And for me, if I can get within half a second of an esports driver world record, I'm actually going to be very happy with that, to be honest. And I know if I can do low 20s here, then it's probably going to be high 19s online. But you can see we've invalidated some laps, but we're just continuing because we still want to build up muscle memory as much as possible. And again, that's a really big piece of advice. If you want to work on your muscle memory, I don't recommend doing hours and hours at a time. I recommend doing maybe 30 minutes at a time, take a break, come back a bit later, come back the next day. Because otherwise, if you keep on doing it for ages and ages, you kind of just get locked in, drained out, fatigued mentally and physically. And you can see that was kind of what was happening to me here. We were starting to make a few silly errors, but we weren't being very consistent. You can see another error running out wide there. So I definitely recommend after 30 minutes or so, definitely give yourself a bit of a break or come back the next day, because more certainly isn't always better. It's like if you go to the gym, if you're working out the same muscle every single day, eventually you're just going to be overworking that muscle and you're not giving yourself an opportunity to actually learn the muscle memory. But I also recommend in time trial to restart your session completely, so you can see back to 0 laps. So I don't know if it's still a thing in the time trial, but on previous games, if you did over 15, 16, 17 laps, you did actually incur a little bit of tyre wear, a very small amount, but obviously enough where it's going to affect your lap time. So I'd say after 15, 16 laps, definitely restart your session. But at this point, I had a little bit of a break. I never normally like to do over 60 minutes in total, so this was under 1 hour when I was doing this. And typically you'll find when you do this and you come back the next day, you almost improve immediately, because you're doing a very good first sector to 26.2. That is easily my best first sector so far. Coming in a little bit wide, trying to hit a very late apex, but you have to go on the throttle so much earlier than you think. You have to be so daring on the throttle around here. It's crazy. As the tarmac starts, missing that apex, and you can see that has cost me time going through the apex there. But going through this one, really important to thread the car in the right way. You want to do as minimal steering as possible. If it's too much steering, you're going to be scrubbing off so much speed. Don't use this curb too much. You can actually cut this right-hander quite a bit as well. But just as this curb starts, did that okay, pretty well. You want to be not even using the brakes through there, but a little lift off the throttle and going in a bit deep in here, but we actually get a pretty good exit. And this is actually going to be in the point one. So there's definitely a couple of mistakes in there where I felt like there was actually quite a bit of time, especially going for that long left-hander when you go into that flat out section. But there was a lot of time. But you can already see, going for this first sector, let's see what we do. So we get a really, not a great exit. You can see how much you lose. If you don't nail the braking or the traction, you just lose so much time. You can see keeping it tighter here, but then running out wide on the exit. So I knew this was a place where I could actually be gaining a lot of time. You can see we're half a tenth up on this lap. This is actually a valid lap at this stage. Coming through this left-hander, how do we do this one? Yeah, it is a really, really nasty bump there. If you hit it awkwardly, it is going to spit you out and you are going to be punished. And you can see just a little bit of overdriving here, but you'll see as the laps go on, we were just super, super consistent. And I think that's normally a very good indication that I'm feeling quite comfortable with the set. You can see every single lap here was a 120.2, and we were doing that consecutively. I think I did about 9 or 10.2s in a row when I was driving. And yeah, so let's see what we can do here. See if we can make an improvement going into this first corner. Braking just off the 100 meter board, using all of this track on the exit. But you can see, the track limits. This one would have been track limits as well. But you can see by just having that extra momentum, look how much time we have gained here. So I decided to continue because, again, I'm a big advocate. I'm trying to keep it within the track limits. So I'm basically want to assume that I only just went out wide in that first sector. Let's see where I can make up time. You can see definitely through that hairpin. Look how much time we made up on the exit. Going to this right-hander early as you dare. And you can see this is another place where you can definitely make up time. So go for this left-hander. This is where I knew I had a lot of time. Going a little bit deep again. So we actually still made up a bit of time without actually hitting that apex the perfect way that I want to. Threading the car through the needle through here. Don't use too much curb on this left-hander. Cut this one and into this left-hander. Let's see how we do here now. So you want to get as close as you can to this curb, and yeah, that would have been within track limits, so that would have been valid. Going through into here, last corner, a pretty decent last corner. So that definitely showed me that a 120.0 was on the card. So yeah, we decided to continue, but now this is the best lap that I managed to do in under 1 hour. So coming through into here, we'll talk through the lap and let's see how we get along. So coming to this one, try and use a bit of the track on this left hand side. So after this 100 meter board, nice late apex, using all of this track on the exit, aiming for this 50 meter board, slow in, fast out a slingshot through here. You can see again a very good exit. So about 100 up at this stage after the 50 meter board. Want to be maximizing the track here. Track limits is very, very difficult. Almost went flat out through here. Changing that brake bias for this hairpin. Trying to get a nice slingshot off this corner, which you do very, very nicely. Changing it back down to 50 brake bias after the 50 meter board. A nice apex early as you dare on the throttle, and you can see making up some time. So this is very good. We know we can make up some time in this left hand as well. Coming through to it this time. Do we do it tight? Yes, we do. Get a really good exit. Look at the time we have gained it, and that momentum is going to carry itself all the way into the penultimate corner. So now really important to try and avoid the steering lock as much as possible. Cut this a little bit to see 600s up here, and how do we do this left-hander? Yeah, we gained a bit of time actually on the exit, so not too bad. Nice late apex through here, and yeah, gaining a bit of time again. So is this going to be a 120? Looks like it is with the delta because we're 9.5 up, but as we cross the line, the delta isn't always accurate. We were 120.105, agonizingly close to that 120, but that was enough for me today. Like I said, normally I would imagine if I came back on here tomorrow or a couple of days time, refreshing that muscle memory, you would see that I should be able to improve actually quite quickly. And for me personally, I think there is definitely a 19 in the snap. But you can see as we're continuing on here, we're very, very close to what we were doing. So let's see if we can make up some time. This right-hander, so, oh yes, we dare go into this one. So yeah, about level so far, but this left-hander is absolutely crucial. I have to go into here, going a little bit deep, a little bit wide, but getting a pretty good exit. So keeping it nice and tight here, and the last two corners were pretty good. So it's going to actually take something a little bit special to try and beat this lap. Going through into this one, managing to do it really nicely. So going into this left-hander, let's see what we do here now. And yeah, you can see if you don't hook that up properly, you will be losing the time. But yeah, as we went back to the garage, you can see that was enough to be in the top 200 or so in the world. Another 10th, and that puts you massively up this leaderboard. But overall, a very, very enjoyable experience. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.